I'm Vince Corzine, coming to you from Enjoyer Productions studio in New York. Let's review a little bit about Supernova, what we've been talking about in the last 4 videos. This is video 5. We talked about a detailed outline for Supernova. We talked about 3 lines moving at different speeds for clarity so they don't get in each other's way. The trombones moved at a medium speed, the saxes move at a little faster speed, and of course the trumpets and harmonics moved at a slower speed, not having a definite line but more of a diffused sound for harmonics. We created tension by adding lines one at a time, a la Beethoven. We did layers, coming along with layers, and increased the volume. We had trumpets and harmons creating a sonority for color, a sheen, and scene over the whole mist coming over the whole thing. We had interludes that developed, leading to solos. We had a modulation to sustain interest and add energy to the piece. This segment, I want to show how I voiced the brass and the saxophones. Trumpets and harmons, I use clusters. Now, clusters are minor second dissonances in the inner parts. Very diffused sound. A cluster could be in a C minor chord. You can have a C, D, E flat, and an F right together. And it could make a very interesting sound. And if, of course, with harmons, everything spreads the sound. So you don't hear the individual notes. You just hear a cluster of sound. The lead trumpet is usually voiced and forced above the second trumpet. I find that this adds maximum resonance whenever you have brass, and particularly trumpets and saxophones, lead alto also, voiced and forced gives a more contemporary ring to the sound. A minor second between the top 2 voices is very jarring to the ear. If you have a singer, and I write for vocalists a lot, and you have the lead alto player playing a B and the singer singing like an A minor 9 chord, and you have the alto player playing a B and the singer singing a C, that singer is going to turn around and look at me, the orchestrator, and say, you wrote a wrong note. See? So you have to make sure that the top note of every section goes along with the melody and creates an interval that is good and not jarring. Saxophones, trombones, and strings, I try to make sure that the top note of each section sounds good with each other. Otherwise, they're going to have a real problem. A B against a C and an E against an F is not a happy thing in outer parts. In inner parts, crunches we call them, they can do very well if you have good ears. Let's listen to the first cut with trumpets and harmonics. And on this first cut, you'll notice the 9th is added to all minor 7th chords for more dissonance. Trumpet 5 supports the lead trumpet at the lower octave. I feel that any time the lead trumpet goes above concert B flat, you should have somebody like another trumpet doubling him for added resonance octave lower. Let's listen to the first cut. The second example is full brass section with high tension chords. Now, high tension chords means plus 9s, flat 9s, plus 11, 13ths, and so forth. Notice that the root is omitted and is played by the bass player. You do not need roots in dominant 7th chords. Now, you're going to say to yourself, well, Vince, suppose I have a song and it has a G7 chord and there's a G in a melody. I mean, the root's in a melody. What do I do? Well, my answer would be to make it a 13th. Make it a 13th. Like if you have a G in the top, put F-A-B-E underneath it. F-A-B-E will make it a 13th. Otherwise, you have a very square chord if you make it a G7 chord. Nobody uses dominant 7s in jazz anymore unless it's a modal piece. You use 9s, 11s, flat 9s, 13s, plus 5. Now on a C minor 11 chord, there's an organ sound. To me, it sounds like an organ. Why does it sound like an organ? Well, there's a lot of fifths and roots in the chord. All right, a lot of fifths and roots in the chord. That gives you a more organ type sound. Now a mid cluster, a cluster we talked about it like a cluster of grapes would be notes together. If you have a D, an E flat, and an F in the trumpet 2, 3, and 4, you're going to have a dissonance between a half step and a whole step. And it's going to sound great if they can play it in tune. Now sometimes high school students have trouble hearing that, but they can do that eventually. When you get a D, E flat, and F, you get a cluster in their voices. Outer voices, watch your minor seconds. Very dangerous. In the A minor 6 to the E7 suspended, there's a lot of resonance because there's force between the trumpet 1, 2, and 3. Force, as I said, give a contemporary ring to the song. Let's listen to the example. Now remember, as I said before, that the fourth trumpet supports the lead an octave lower. This is good, especially when a trumpet goes above concert B flat, above the staff. In the final sustained chord, the ninth is added for extra resonance. You get a D and an E grinding together. And I love that sound. I think dissonance is very, very good, as long as it eventually resolves to consonance. Let's look at the trombone section for a minute. Trombones sound great in close and open position, just very much like cellos sound good. When I write for cellos, I write them either way, and they sound wonderful. Trombones sound very good. They sound close if you want Stan Kenton, you write them in 5-part or 4-part open harmony. Let's listen to the third CD at this point.